retweet again.
We're live already, you muppet. Okay, and welcome to the Fantasy Football Hub live stream this Thursday evening with me, John Nellis and FPL Heisenberg. You can see our ranks before tonight's games actually, and our handles below us. We're going to chat to you now for about 45 minutes. We're going to try and cover all the big topics, and we will take some questions towards the end. Fire them in throughout. Fire in helpful little things we missed for us, but we're going to really focus on the questions later. First off, we've some important topics to get through. Wes, how's your game week been? Painful?
Yeah, okay. Painful considering it's a big double game week. We both tried to optimise for this, didn't we? With a wild card the week before, bench boost this week. I've got a minor green arrow so far, and the Spurs game just now hasn't killed me too badly. I only had Kane in that game, no captain either. So yeah, happy-ish. I'm always happy if I get a green arrow, but weeks like this is where you want to see those big jumps, don't you?
Yeah, I think I was I was going into the game week saying 150 would be great, but I'll be happy with 100, and I'm sitting on 79. I haven't checked that out, but Wes, you're having a bit of internet trouble. We may as well just be upfront about it. So Wes mightn't be visible the whole time. We might have to sacrifice video for audio quality, but you're okay now. If it gets shit, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
But Wes, I suppose you've obviously got a bit of a cold, but what's the first topic on the agenda? Do we we can kind of have tonight's game on in the background. It starts in 15 minutes, but where do you want to start tonight?
Where to start? So
Bruno has been a big topic. A lot of people are having a lot of fun about Bruno Fernandes. Shout out to Buna. I've seen a lot of drama about Buna on Twitter because I think he got rid of Bruno and got abused. I didn't follow the drama, but I find him very funny. He posts some memes and they're very funny. But people are sort of really contemplating getting rid of Bruno for arguably the first time this season.
Yeah, so I put a tweet out myself actually a couple of days ago with a picture of Bruno saying, he's going nowhere out of my team. I then watched the Crystal Palace game and was kind of thinking, well, maybe I could. But no, that's kind of reactionary. I am keeping him. I know there's kind of a logic for getting rid of him because he's got Man City away this game week, which is obviously week 27. Then 29 doesn't even have a game. So there's the logic there. You could get rid of him and then bring him back in week 30. It's not something I'm looking to do. Highest point score in the game. Usually Mr. Reliable. United are going for a little bit of a sticky patch where they're just not looking great, but that happens to a lot of teams. We've seen it even with the likes of Man City this year, Liverpool this year, even Kane and Son, who we've all lauded this year, have had dry spells. So I'm going to ride it out, and I'm going to be keeping Bruno. What about yourself, John?
It's funny because when I brought this topic up, I kind of said to myself, mad bastards talking about getting rid of Bruno. I'm going to be Team Bruno here. But when I just look at those fixtures of City, West Ham, blank, Brighton, Tottenham, it's like, oh God, mix in with European football, mix in with, I don't know what else to be honest with you, but I can see the logic for the pivot to De Bruyne or to free up funds for Kane and or Son. I didn't catch the game tonight. Yeah. But apparently a couple of clean-cut chances. Kane, people are very disappointed in the comments already. So, while I'm saying to myself, Bruno, I need to keep Bruno, when you actually look at it, he might be the logical kind of one to make way. He won't be leaving my team this week, but because I'm going to basically have to get rid of Barnes, as people can see, my team is on the screen. We'll whip yours up soon, Wiz. I'm going to have to get rid of at least Barnes. And that's a luxury transfer for me, getting rid of Bruno. So he's staying for now, but I can see the logic and I don't blame anyone getting rid of him. It is ballsy in terms of, they talk about swords and shields. It is a ballsy move in terms of rank. But for the next three fixtures, I can kind of understand, particularly with people who have free hits and wildcards planned for 29 and 30.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you can probably want. There's not many teams playing, so you're really going to want Kane and Son are the best two options that game week, pretty much. And if there's no other way of fitting Son in because of price structure, or you might have to take a big minus hit, it kind of makes sense to take Bruno out this week. Or Salah. Obviously, Salah's going to play in 10 minutes' time, and he might bag a brace, and then everyone's going to keep him. But there's definitely some talk or some feeling that he's not justifying his price tag, which again I get, and again he doesn't play in week 29, so it's not. It's one of those where there's no right answer. I will probably keep both. Will it be the right decision? Obviously, only time will tell.
Absolutely. People in the comments, let us know, are you getting the lag I'm getting from Wes? If you are, we'll knock off the video. If it's all good, we'll just keep with the video. The next, just big, we're talking about premiums here, Wes. We're talking about sticking or twisting. Salah, now a lot maybe hangs on how he performs tonight, but he has Fulham, Wolves, and then a blank in 29. And, while we've been saying this for weeks, Liverpool don't look great, but Salah keeps scoring. That's kind of dried up over his last 2 fixtures. If he blanks again tonight, could Salah be on the chopping board?
Yeah, I think I maybe cut out a minute ago when I kind of said that there's logic behind like taking Bruno or Salah. It's kind of the same consideration. Like Bruno's going for a bit of a sticky patch, so's Salah. They're both expensive, and then there's other shiny objects there now, like De Bruyne back, like Son for 29. So it definitely makes sense. But yeah, I'd want him back in game week 30 onwards. But yeah, it doesn't really sit right with me taking out someone like Bruno just because of how consistent he's been. With Salah, it definitely makes more sense because he's he's the most expensive player in the game, so you definitely be saving some money. And if you can spread the funds, so if you haven't got Kane and Son, and you might need to get both of those guys, then yeah, you can have to use one of those guys as like a cash cow.
Yeah, essentially. That's it. I mean, it's funny, we've went through such phases this season. There was the phase where everyone was trying to get Salah, Bruno, and KDB. Money was a real issue. People had Brewster in their team, for God's sake. Then we went through the phase whenever KDB got injured and was Kane injured, and I don't know what else happened, but basically people had, I think I had a game week where I had like 7 million in the bank, and Wes, you nearly died of it. You're dying there. You sure you don't have the Rona? Have you got a test?
Yeah, I had a test, all good.
You're all good? Oh, good. So there was a period then whenever we all had too much money and we went in for these luxury transfers. We were all getting like double keepers, like good keepers for a bench boost or for rotation. We were getting in like 3, 4, 5 solid defenders. People were bringing in Robertson just because they could afford him. Do you know? And now we're back to this stage where it's like, geez, we all want Kane again, and we all want Son, and we all want we don't all necessarily want Bruno or Salah, but something's got to give.
Yeah,
particularly with the City defence. People are normally double City defence, which is going to cost 10 million at least. So it's just funny how it kind of goes in cycles with fixtures, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, there was a time period where I think I had like 8 million in the bank, and so did everyone. Literally, all the expensive players were either flopping or they were out injured, like you said. So money wasn't an issue, but it always goes around in these cycles. It always comes a time period where Kane gets back on form, Son's there, Bruno, blah blah blah. So yeah, money's now tighter. So yeah, you're gonna have to think about it and a way of squeeze. If you've got in your midfield Salah and Bruno, and the likes of Gundogan and maybe Rafinha, it is actually hard to fit Son into that. Because that only leaves one more midfield slot. So say that's my midfield actually plus Harvey Barnes. So I'm looking at going Barnes to Son, but obviously I need to free up the money from somewhere. So how I do that, I don't know. Will it be Salah? Maybe. Will it be one of my defenders? Maybe. Have to see how it pans out. But it's definitely not at certain stages of the season and in seasons gone by, you'd be stupid to take out the top point scorer like a Salah or Bruno. But right now, I wouldn't say it's a stupid move to take either of them out right now. I'm just not sure if that's the way I'll go.
Absolutely. Well, Wes, before we get into some more topics, we haven't said already, we're actually the hosts of the FPL Double Up podcast. If you're into FPL podcasts, check us out. And yeah, our handles are below us. While you're here, please like the video and subscribe to Hub. Hub is a great site with a lot of amazing features. Have a look at it, but do subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content like this. And we've gone ahead and scheduled our next 3 or 4 streams on the channel. So if you head over to the videos and go to live streams, you can look ahead. Shout out to a few in the crowd there. I can see Jack Benzie, Callum, Saviola, with Gavinho, Daniel Robert, Hamza, MC Moyes, Mike Williams, Cahill McGuinness, Ario David, Nico Nunks. I'm going to miss a load of people here. Nell Gunn's in the house, and Andy Armstrong. I think he's taking the piss out of your big Duke. He says you need to flip that webcam into sport mode. We referenced that.
I can see that with a big smiley face as well, so cheers for that.
Do you want to fill people in with a little bit of an update to the drama, or are we going to save that for the pod?
No, give a little update. So I got another ticket through the door. I know what you're thinking, why have you done it again? But the actual story is that I hadn't received the first ticket when this offence took place. And this time I was just driving the bus lane for like 100 metres, just overtaking people.
There's no, scumbag.
Traffic.
Yeah, I thought it was very funny because you were all victimized last week and putting on Twitter being like, "This isn't about. This is like perfectly safe." And I actually, one of my followers commented under it and was sort of saying, "I think he's like a constable or something." He was like, "A parked like a stationary vehicle is technically an obstruction, and you're allowed to enter for that, so you're well within your rights." But then this video comes out of you just raking it up the outside of about 4 cars and overtaking them, you scumbag. Anyway, back to FPL. A topic.
Sorry, John. Just before we do, as you're giving shout outs to people, I wanted to give a shout out to Big Bride Sutcliffe, who we've scheduled a few videos in advance just to be organised so you guys know when the streams are coming. And he said even more stupid posting this 15 days in advance. So good feedback, Bryce. We'll take it on board.
There's a video in like 2 weeks' time, and he went and posted under it. Bree Sutcliffe wasn't a happy person. So look, at least he's looking ahead to future content. Fair play, Bree or Bry or whatever you go by. I don't know what it's more stupid than, but we got to laugh. So back to FPL. Whereas last week on the stream, we were both pretty negative, I suppose, about Bale. He proved us wrong in that first Spurs fixture. Now, again, I'm going to put this disclaimer out, and we said this last week, so I don't actually feel too aggrieved, but we are both very risk-adverse players. We look for the upside, we look for playing the odds, and we look to basically play it safe and choose the option that makes sense. We aren't big differential guys. We aren't big going for punts trying to make up rank. We aren't trying to be too clever. It's a simple game when you play it that way, and I think that was behind my logic for the Bale decision. For me, while it's proved out pretty fruitful, Son had a great game as well, thankfully, but I was sort of saying it just didn't make sense price-wise to choose Bale over Son on track records. I stand by that, but we were proven wrong, not for the first time this season. Rashford springs to mind.
He did get a lot of points obviously in that first game, and then a blank in the second game. Him and Dele Alli both got withdrawn on the 67th minute. So a little tip for everyone watching: I keep a close eye on minutes of certain players. So Bale is is a decent option now, but he's an option that you've got to be careful with minutes. There's quotes from Mourinho saying that he's going to be careful with his minutes. Obviously, Tottenham are at the latter stages of the Europa League. They're going to want to take that seriously. They're going to want to use Bale for that. So I guess it's kind of good that he got withdrawn early tonight. But yeah, I think I've said this before, but I'll just repeat myself. I think with the likes of Bale versus Son is going to play 90 minutes virtually every Premier League game, sometimes 80, 85, but him and Kane are the main men there, so they're going to stay on the pitch like Grealish does for Villa when he's there. Whereas with Bale, like tonight, 67 minutes, that can be frustrating. So I think Gareth Bale when you buy him, know what you're buying going into him. Will he get rested will he start every Premier League game for the next 5 or 6 games? I don't think so. Will he score a decent amount of points over the next 5 or 6? Yeah, maybe. So when you do get a bench in a random game week, don't throw your toys out your pram. Just stay calm. Know that you bought that kind of player. If you get Bale, you're kind of buying it's a bit like buying a City asset in terms of like a Mahrez or a Sterling, where there's so much rotation possibilities there that when it happens, you can't really be surprised or blame anyone. You've just got to hope that they get points when they are on the pitch.
Well, that's just something like looking at these kind of stats of the both looking back. Like if we look at Son's minutes played just on FPL here, he hasn't missed a minute since game week 15 when he played 83, and then before that 86. He hasn't played less than 80 minutes since game week 5, where he played 79, 72, 45, 90, 90. Like he's featured in every game this season for a long time. On the converse, Gareth Bale hasn't played 90 minutes once, and his last 4 after blanks and blanks and blanks were 66 minutes, 69 minutes, 45 minutes, and 18 minutes. So, look, as I said last week, if Gareth Bale was 7.5 million, absolutely, it makes sense value-wise. But for now, I'm still firmly in Camp Son. Like that 0.2 isn't worth it for me. It just isn't worth it. Yeah, okay, Bale could go and outscore Son. I get it, but I think just risk to reward, looking ahead, all those factors. Yes, do it, and you could be a hero, but also just be aware that you could be a chump. Yeah,
and just to jump in there again to have something else that I've just sort of come into mind. It's not. I've kind of focused, well, we both kind of heavily focused on the minutes aspect, which is a valid argument. But you've also got to remember that Son is actually a very reliable points provider in terms of assists and goals this season. So he's reliable in that. He's reliable for minutes. He's reliable for returns. So yeah, if you're picking just one, I'm definitely team Son. Could you get both? again, as a short-term punt, because obviously Game Week 29, not many players are playing. There's only a few weeks leading up to that. Maybe in 28, you bring in Bale for a couple of game weeks and then transfer him out in 30 if it goes tits up. Maybe, but it's kind of wasteful if you transfers that. So yeah, I'm Son.
Yeah, I'm Son too. I'm Team Son. Wes, we'll look ahead to... In fact, no, we'll do another quick comparison while we're here, and it's something you threw together as you've done the last couple of weeks. It's basically looking at Harvey Barnes replacements, looking at two that are cheaper than him, I believe, or at least definitely in the same bracket. I know Rafinha's like $1 million cheaper. Lingard, I haven't seen the price of, but I'd be surprised if he's over 5.5, 6 million.
Yeah, it's about 6, I think.
6 million. So this is just comparing two of those. Now, a lot of people will already have Rafinha. I'm going to ask you this straight off the bat before we even look at this. Did you put these two here because you think they're the best two? If people already have Rafinha and they need a Barnes replacement, are you going Team Lingard, or is there anyone else you consider?
Yeah, so if you're staying in the same sort of price bracket, because Harvey Barnes is 6.8, 6.9, you've got sort of Mason Mount, you've got maybe Pedro Neto. The options aren't great in that bracket, but Lingard has been very good since joining West Ham, and the only downside with Lingard is you'll need to have a good bench option for week 28, which is obviously right around the corner now, when obviously Lingard plays Man United West Ham play Man United, but Lingard can't play because it's his parent club. And yeah, if you've already got Rafinha, I think that's a valid point, like you said, and I'm in that boat. I already have Rafinha. So yeah, I think Lingard would be my choice if I go down. The only way I won't go to Lingard is if, like I said, I free up some money elsewhere to go Barnes to Son, and then for me, Lingard would have to miss out. But yeah, I like Lingard. Are the stats on the screen? Is the graph on the screen now, John?
It's on the screen, yeah. We're looking at Game Week 22 to 26 for the both.
Yeah. I know Rafinha isn't as highly owned as... well, actually, you can check that now. He's not as highly owned as you think either, so I think there'll be a lot of managers out there that don't have either. And if you didn't... This is comparing the time period. This is taking the Fantasy Football Hub app, actually. So if you haven't already downloaded that, I highly recommend it. I use it every day, love it. But this is for the time period from when Lingard joined West Ham, so Game Week 22 to 26, so a 5-game period. And see there how creative Rafinha is. We know that. He's taken all the dead balls, all the corners. Should have had loads of assists in the last few weeks just by watching the games. But interestingly, shots on target, Lingard's quite way ahead. XG, he's a little bit further ahead, if you like that metric, but expected points. And yeah, the big chance created favouring Rafinha quite heavily.
Yeah, Rafinha definitely looks by far and away the better creator. Lingard looks to just be pulling the trigger a bit more selfishly. Lingard has got 5 returns in 5 games, which is very impressive, and I don't think anyone would have put a bet on that when he signed for West Ham. It was almost like a trolling, like a troll of a fucking transfer. What am I trying to say here? He's almost like got that Lord Bentner status, Lingard, at these days. He gets that whole joke thrown about like, sure, he's just a youngster, and really he's like 28 or something.
Yeah, exactly.
He was never given respect at Manchester United. So honestly, I'm very, very happy to see him doing well.
Yeah,
but there is, and it's purely the name. If this was Rodrigo de Paul, I'm just picking a promising attacking midfielder from Europe. If this was Rodrigo de Paul with these stats in a West Ham team, and that was Rodrigo de Paul's name, or pick any other name that you don't know from European football, I'd be all in. But the fact it's Jesse Lingard, there's biases there.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting, actually. Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. And this is sort of something you can apply to FPL for many years. You've got to leave those biases at the door when players change your mind or something happens. Like, yeah, Lingard's been... People say, I had Lingard last year, I'm never going there again, blah, blah, blah. But it's a completely different situation now. He wasn't confident at Man United. He wasn't getting the game time, etc., etc. He had personal issues or whatever. Now he's gone to West Ham and he's kind of that big fish in a small pond, playing, maybe not 90 minutes every week, but there or thereabouts. He's now a main figure in that team. He's kind of playing off the striker, free role, getting into good positions, just looks really good as well, looks like one of their best players. So it's a completely different situation. And whereas at Man United, he wasn't trusted. If he did start, he'd be withdrawn early, and all that sort of stuff. So it's a different situation. Put those... leave your emotion out of it in terms of someone trolling you or whatever, and trust what's in front of your eyes right now. Same with someone like Gundogan. People are like, no, Gundogan, he hasn't done this for years, he hasn't done that. It's like, no, right now he is playing a different role, so we have to judge him differently. So yeah, it's a little bit similar to Gundogan in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's just this.
It's bias.
It's kind of like, let's say, for example, and it would never happen, but it's like N'Golo Kante. Let's say all of a sudden he takes a more creative role, which wouldn't happen. It's a weird example, but hear me out. We'd all, like, as FPL managers who are diehard in the space, we'd be looking going, N'Golo Kante, he's like the classic trap of a central defensive midfielder, and you wouldn't trust yourself and you wouldn't trust the stats because of old biases. It's exactly like that. You just need to put them aside and look at the current stats on the paper and the form and the fixtures and go with that. So yeah, that's just a thought. What else do we want to cover, Wes? We've got game week 29. Oh, sorry.
Before we move on to that, just having a flip through the comments, and someone's oh god, it's always a tough name. Humane Mia has said that is Saka a good option, and he's in the same sort of price point as Lingard, so he could be a good Barnes replacement. He plays in week 29. But yeah, I think I do worry a little bit about rotation with Saka. Well, actually, having said that, I suppose the good thing is he has just had a rest against Leicester.
Based on track record, he should have a few games in him now.
Yeah, so again, short-term punt, and maybe if you did want to keep it long-term, I guess it's cheap enough, and we all should be having still fairly decent squads because of these rotation risks and these sort of COVID times. That's, it's quiet at the minute, but who knows?
The other leagues, there's games getting cancelled left, right, and centre, like across Europe. It's not. We're not out of the woods, like.
Yeah, we're not out of the woods at all. So Saka, yeah, I like him, but again, like with Bale, don't be too surprised if he is benched randomly. But if you have a good first and second bench player, you can maybe get away with it, and hopefully he gets you the returns when he is on the pitch.
Absolutely. Bukayo Saka making a big push for that Euros squad with England anyway, because he's had a cracker of a season and he's obviously highly rated. Whereas the next thing, we'll get on to transfers and captaincy towards the end before we wrap up in about 20 minutes, but so the next thing people will be optimising for is going to be game week 29. That's the next kind of FPL milestone. With a few quiet enough weeks, obviously there is a double this week. City have 2 fixtures. We could talk about that. And we'll probably get on to that, the likes of the double game week for Southampton as well. But first off, just game week 29 is coming around the corner. We need to keep that in mind with our transfers. It all depends on your strategy, if you have wildcards or free hits. But if you're like me and you, and we've kind of blew our load, and we've spent all our chips and all our... Well, I think, have you? You might have triple captain left.
Yeah, I've got my triple captain left, so... The good thing about that is you don't have to plan too much for a triple captain. You can obviously just use it in a double game week on the player who you'd already captained anyway. So yeah, it's not a big deal chip, that one. But
in terms of like actual whole team structure here, me and you need to kind of be thinking about having a nice balance for game week 29. I obviously have the 3 Leeds lads. I have... Who else has got a game that week? There's a few of them. Villa lads, I've got Target and Martinez, that's 5. But I'm really going to have to be looking at getting Spurs boys in.
Yeah, exactly. So what you've got people listening should be doing now is actually counting up how many players you've got for week 29. So yeah, just get the fixtures up and literally count them up. So count how many Fulham players you've got, Tottenham, Villa, Leeds, all those. So yeah, I've got 6, I think it is, and I've got 3 free transfers. So the free transfers in 27, 28, 29. So free transfers, I should be able to get to 9 players without a hit. I'll probably take 1 hit, maybe 2 hit, and get 11 players. But I'm also happy to go into that game week with 9 or 10 players. As long as you've got the beat, if you can kind of cover these weeks with getting those main players in, and the people who've got a free hit might get a few more points than you, but it's not the end of the world. That.
Yeah, the issue as well with that is because I'm in the same boat. I'm kind of thinking I'll have 8 or 9, maybe 10 at a push. If I take a couple of hits, and I'm thinking like, yeah, I'll be grand. I'll have a team. I'll put out a score. If I'm lucky, I might even outscore managers with 11 players. But the other side of that is COVID. What if the Spurs fixture's off? What if the Leeds fixture's off? Like a third of your team's gone and you've no subs. It's like, decimate your game week. But look, that's the game we play. You can't really plan too much around cancellations. I think we just have to play and hope. But yeah, so that's like game week 29, just to reiterate to people, keep that in mind. It's around the corner. But this week, we have a double game week for Southampton and Manchester City. A lot of us will already have double City defence and probably Gundogan and, or Sterling or KDB Is there anyone else in City jumping out at you over the last few weeks? I think Jesus obviously had a good week or two.
Yeah.
Well,
so did Mahrez, didn't he? Those two are the big point scorers in the double game which just gone. Mahrez played 180 minutes in the double just gone, so my guess is he'll miss out on one of the games.
He's actually played 490 minutes in a row. It's kind of went under the radar.
Yeah, which is if you look at that normally for any other team but City, you'd be thinking, oh great, that means he's in the team now. He's just scored 2 goals. Blah blah blah. He's definitely going to stay in the team. But Pep doesn't play like that. We know that. So yeah, I can't see Mahrez playing both. Gabriel Jesus probably not either because Sterling's had a rest, so they might go for Aguero might take some game time there, or they will just go for sort of Sterling at top or a false 9 in the likes of De Bruyne or Gundogan like we've seen Pep do. So yeah, I think with your City assets, it's probably better just to stick with what you've got. Like I've got Cancelo and Gundogan. They both missed out or partially missed out in the double game week just gone, but I'm hopeful for this double game week coming. And yeah, I don't want to be using my transfers on flip-flopping between City players. I've made my bed with them now, and I'm just gonna lay in it. I've got Edison as well, who I'll keep for the double, and then I'll probably move on because I've got Edison and Martinez. That's too much money to spend, and I'm just happy to play Martinez for the rest of the season now. He plays in week 29.
If Ederson takes a penalty, as Gavinho99 says in the comments, if Ederson takes a penalty, that decision might change. Yeah.
If Edison gets penalties and scores it, then I guess I'll have to keep him and ditch Martinez, because that'd be really nice having a goalkeeper taking penalties. We've never seen anything like that, so that would be
game breaking.
Really fun.
It would be game breaking. Will X10 says, what's wrong with Wes's camera? Just do we update? Wes's internet's pretty terrible, so to optimise his bandwidth, we're going audio only today.
Yeah, and I think it's been better since I came
off
the video, I think. So yeah, you don't need to see my face. I'm not.
You just get to see this big kind face.
Yeah, exactly.
At you.
John's handsome enough for both of us.
Yeah, I'm indeed. Right, so yeah, Southampton, they also have a double game week. They're playing Sheffield United, and we kind of discussed this on the pod. We were saying, the way I kind of put it was, in terms of captaincy, in terms of even getting him in, a lot of people might view this kind of as, albeit Sheffield United have just won 1-0 as well. Do you know, they aren't looking great, but they aren't looking just as vulnerable as maybe they have in the past. Maybe people would disagree with that, but what I'm saying is I don't think Southampton going and hammering Sheffield 3-0 is a foregone conclusion. But what I was kind of speculating before was people might pick the likes of Ings here in the hope that they trounce Sheffield, and then whatever the 2 points at Man City is a bonus, whatever else they get there is a bonus on the captaincy. I'm not going to bring in anyone from Southampton for this double game week. If anyone has them, I would keep them, but I'm not bringing them in.
Yeah, exactly. That last line you just said there is exactly what I was going to say. So I took the words right out of my mouth. That's perfect. If you've got them, play them because it's a double. But yeah, I wouldn't be transferring them in. There's no one I want apart from Ings. Has obviously still got that potential. He always does, I suppose. And like you've said, it's Sheffield United. So yeah, Ings is a decent option. I've heard people banding around like going for an Ings captain. I don't like it. Either go for a City asset, or if you don't want to do that, then Spurs have got Palace at home, and we should be, most people should have a Spurs asset in their team this week, building for week 29 at the very least, and they play Palace. So if you really don't want to go for a City asset, then yeah, I'd be going Son or Kane, whichever one you've got, or yeah, choose the one out of the both. But with Ings, and I wanted to kind of echo your thoughts on Sheffield United. They're not playing like a team they're not Derby from 08, 09 or whatever the year was. They are a bit better than that, and like you said, they've just had a decent result. So yeah, I don't think they're just going to get steamrolled. Maybe they lose 1-0, maybe Ings gets that goal, but yeah, you don't want to be. And again, assuming you haven't got a free hit for week 29, if you bring in a Southampton player, then yes, they have 2 games now, but in week 29 they don't have a game. So many teams Southampton have 3 games over the next 3 game weeks, but so do other teams. So this double's kind of negated by the fact that in week 29 they actually miss a game, so it's not a double, if you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. Yeah, if you're planning on holding them for 5 weeks, it's the exact same.
Yeah,
and if they're not exactly amazing captaincy options for the double, so it's not even like there's that draw. It's different when you've got a premium who's the double, because you're going to captain them and get the double fixture. Do you know, the double points.
One more thing people might be thinking is, actually, City have actually not kept a clean sheet in their last 2 games. They've conceded a goal in both, but in both games, and my mind's got a bit hazy now, but especially the Wolves game, looking very comfortable. Wolves' first touch in Man City's box was the 60th minute when Connor Cody, who hasn't scored a Premier League goal in God knows how long, popped up with a header in the bottom corner. So it's not as if City are looking shaky at the back, in my opinion. They've just conceded. If you look at their XG stats from both games, I'm pretty sure they'll be pretty low down for the XG conceded, whatever you call it. Yeah. So yeah, I don't think Man City are going to start conceding. So I do expect a clean sheet versus Southampton there for Man City.
Would you be... So, actually, we'll get on to transfers and captain after this, but for now, just to remind people, there is a mini break in Game Week 33, as highlighted here in Danny H's fixtures. So, Southampton miss out, Fulham miss out, Spurs miss out, and Man City miss out. Yeah. So, a lot of teams going into 29 will be obviously... They'll probably hold on to their City assets because they're there, they're season keepers in a way. They might optimise moving other players out, I don't know, but a lot of us could be quite heavy on the likes of Spurs and Fulham based on 29, so it's just something to be aware that Game Week 33, if you don't have that wild card in the back pocket or free hit for 29, just bear in mind that your next 3 or 4 transfers are kind of spoken for.
Yeah, exactly. So in terms of, that's a good point, John, and I think I had another, good point. So what I wanted to say on this point was, because we're all going to want over the next few weeks 2 or 3 Spurs and pretty much guaranteed to want 3 City. So that's 5 or 6 players who then don't play in week 33. There will be a few. There's obviously going to be a few transfers after week 29 where you can maybe start removing some of your Spurs boys. But I don't want Southampton or Fulham assets clogging at my team where I think, they don't play in 33 as well, so I've got to remove them. I'd rather pick from other teams. So therefore, I'm going to avoid Fulham and Southampton now until at least week 34, and then when Game Week 33 comes along, bench a couple of my City guys, bench a couple of my Spurs guys, and make a transfer. So I've got 11 players, if that makes sense.
Well, Wes, it's safe to say we're noobs to this whole FPL streaming game, and never more apparent than tonight when we were streaming over a fixture, a pretty big one at that. Yeah. So Fergie and is it Andy Hopcroft? If I got his name right, Andrew Hopcroft. That's his co-host, isn't it?
No, Adam Hopcroft and Andrew Ferguson. Okay, you kind of merged them into one.
Merged them into one guy. We'll just call it like the Andy Hopcroft show. Anyway, they're on. I think it's at 10 o'clock tonight. They're obviously seasoned pros, and they've scheduled it in after the fixture. We're the chumps who went during the fixture, but you could think we're the warm-up act tonight. But there's less people here because of that. So do us the favour. We need all the likes we can get. Otherwise, Hub will cancel us. That's how ruthless Will is. Absolute scumbag. So do us a favour, like the video, and Andy Hopcroft's on later. Adam Hopcroft and Andrew Ferguson are on at 10 o'clock if you need more FPL.
Andy Hopcroft. That's their new joint nickname.
Well, we'll find out. Like, if either of them listen, they'll definitely troll me or call me out. If they don't listen, we'll know. So look, that's the plugs done for the whole day. Right. Transfers. Wes, I'm going to go over to your team. You can tell us what you're planning, and then I'll have a look at mine, and then we'll talk about captaincy.
Yeah, can I suggest something actually? Why don't we take a few questions now?
Oh yeah,
jump, and then we can jump back to the transfers captaincy, then take a couple of questions at the end to wrap up.
Sounds like a plan. So hit us with your love stick, guys.
Questions, everybody, get them in.
I'll go with that. Yeah, questions, love sticks.
Shots fired from Gavino99. You say yous are the warm-up acts, lads, but your overall ranks are better than Fergie and Adams.
I'm saying nothing. Gavino, don't go spreading fucking hatred now. I said the F word. I'm allowed to say the F word.
Are you?
Am I?
Don't know.
I am. I swear all the time here.
Yeah, you already said it now. So
the beauty of live TV. Right, Gavino, enough of your shite. Hit us with a question. Enough shit stirring, my friend.
Here we go. Daniel Robert, thoughts on bringing Aubameyang in and captaining him?
Get in the bin, Daniel. It's probably a great idea. Let me check his fixtures and stuff, but on the face of it, it isn't for me. But maybe, I don't know. So you're going to bring him in, I assume, for Salah or Fernandes. He's got single fixture against Burnley. No, that's crazy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's not for me. He hasn't been consistent enough this year, Aubameyang, and there's rotation at Arsenal, which, okay, fine. If someone like Saka, if he gets rotated, he's only a 6 million asset. It's not ideal, but it's not the end of the world. With someone of Aubameyang's price range, you want him firing, you want him nailed on, and he's just not those things. Sometimes he's doing a job wide left where he's not scoring as many goals. So yeah, not for me. I'd caveat again, just to for this game, I don't play like this at all. I play slow and steady throughout the whole season and then get a decent rank at the end of the season. I don't go for these big sort of chasing moves. But I know a lot of people play differently. They're just sort of worried about their mini league rivals, and they kind of start taking gambles at the stage of the season. And again, there's multiple ways of playing FPL. So if you're in that situation and that's your style and you want to take that risk, then you could do. It's just not something that I do or John would do.
No, I wouldn't do it. I mean, like, it goes back, we say this every week, Wes, it's like there's different ways to play the game. If you go chasing mini league rivals and stuff, if there's one guy who you have your sights on, okay. If you need a differential, if you need to catch him, all right. But if you're competing against that overall rank, just pick the team that's more likely to give you more points. Going chasing, Aubameyang captain is a crazy call. Could it pay dividends? Could he get a hat-trick? Absolutely. It's Aubameyang. But it's Burnley who are notoriously half-decent at defending. It's Aubameyang who's been missing all season. He's blanked the last 2 games. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You could captain him and you're a hero, but you could also captain him and you're a wanker.
And it's I don't. I guess a lot of people watching will be on Twitter as well, and they'll know an account called D1 Sable, a guy called Luke who had a big triple captain on Gareth Bale this week, and me and many others were like praising him, saying that's and in my head I'm thinking, God, I never play like that, and am I missing out? But then he was good actually, because he then tweeted and he was like, actually guys, look, I do this a lot, and I've had a lot of failures actually, and this is one that's actually paid off big. But and that can be distorted by Twitter. You'll see these sort of crazy shouts, and people obviously then post about it on Twitter, which is fair enough. But you've got to remember that you only kind of see the winners. It's like with betting, isn't it? If your mates win an accumulator, they share it in the group chat. If they've lost it, they're not going to bother because it's not a story really. So just bear that in mind and remember that. For me, how I play, I can only really advise on how I play. I play quite sensible, slow and steady. And I think it's a crazy shout personally.
Yeah. But look, let's hope next week. Well, let's not hope. I hope he listens to us and doesn't do it. But Daniel, I wouldn't be upset if you did do it and came back next week and told us he had a brace, and we'd call you a hero. Yeah, sure. In terms of thanks for the update, Nelgun, on the Parma Inter game. I actually have a lot of skin riding in that game tonight, but I'll not bore you with the details. If you care, you can go to my Twitter and go to Wes's Twitter while you're there. Lookman is an option for Barnes. Wes, you're a long time fan of Lookman. He's been your probably crush of the season. Yeah. Do you know what I'd love to do? I'd love every FPL season. I might start this season, is get a jersey of a player who made my season, and then have a little drawer of remembering the FPL seasons in a way. Because you remember, in years gone by, Gams Pedersens and Zamoras and the like.
Yeah, all those
Charlie Austin,
legendary players.
Michu.
Michu, yeah, I was about to say Michu. Yeah. And there was a Burnley midfielder, wasn't there, one year? George Boyd was like a 4.5 million midfielder. He got a few guys. John Lundstrom last year.
Yeah.
Obviously, unbelievable asset. 4.0 defender, but playing in midfield in a team who actually kept clean sheets last year.
Who's this week's? Who's this
again?
Season's? Are we talking Gundogan? Are we talking Bamford? Are we talking Dallas?
Dallas is the kind of defender. The cheap. He did start at 4.5, obviously, but he's got a fair amount of attacking returns and a good amount of clean sheets in there. But yeah, there's no John Lundstrom for me. That was kind of a game breaker, and there's not.
Timo Werner.
Timo Werner scores.
Interrupting you, but it's a goal at Chelsea.
But sorry, back to the question you asked me about Lookman. Because of what I said earlier, I'm not getting any Fulham players in for the reason of week 33. It's over courses. You can get him in and get him out, of course, but I just don't want anyone from those two teams, Fulham and Southampton in 33, that I'm going to have to move out, because I am going to be hoarding the Spurs and the Man City guys. So for that reason, no. He is still a decent option. He scored a couple of games ago, I think, Lookman. He hasn't kicked on like I hoped he would. But for his price, he's still done well this season. If you look at his returns, his sort of points per million is probably pretty good. But yeah, not for me at the minute, Lookman.
Yeah, well, if it's not for you, Wes, it's probably not for anyone. Lookman, you're his biggest fan. Okay, we'll take maybe one more, then talk transfers and captaincy. Any of them there that jump out at you?
Say again, sorry, John.
Are there any questions you particularly wanted to answer? Because we're going to jump over to captaincy and transfers.
Let's jump over to that.
We'll jump and then we'll take maybe one more to wrap up. So, Wes, I'll pull your team up if you want to talk us through your plans for this week. How many free transfers have you got?
So I've got just a one free transfer. I have got the Harvey Barnes issue, but I am going to potentially bench Barnes and play my other 7 attackers in a 3-4-3, and benching Luke Shaw, who's an easy bench, obviously, away at City. Playing Edison and benching Martinez because obviously Edison's got the double, but yeah, I'm not buzzing about Edison because his lack of save points. I wanted that sort of guaranteed route into the City defence, which is why I originally did it for like these back-to-back doubles. But it kind of backfired, obviously, with the centre-back scoring.
Timo Werner was offside.
It's been ruled out, is it?
Yeah. Anyway.
So, yeah, I'm not sure. A few ways I could go. I might end up doing a -4 to get Son in straight away. And that would be in place of Harvey Barnes. But yeah, I would have to find some money from somewhere if I did do that. So I'm kind of leaning towards holding the transfer.
I'm just rolling it, playing those 7. Rafinha, DCL, Kane, Watkins, Salah, Fernandes and Gundogan. There's worse 7s out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, roll the transfer. I like it. And who are you looking at for the armband next week? In fact, we'll talk about that afterwards because I'll have it up on my screen. It'll look a bit nicer. For me, I have 2.1 million in the bank. I'm probably going to get rid of Barnes, which leaves me with 8.9. And my decision then becomes... In fact, what I'm probably going to do is actually the same as you. I'm probably going to go 3-4-3. Oh, bastards. Do you know what? I'd love Keane, but it's probably worth keeping Vardy. He's a good fixture this week, doesn't he?
Yeah, I was about to say, he's got some decent fixtures. It's hard to remove now. Maybe just ride Kane out until...
Here's what's happening.
A couple of weeks.
Do you agree with this, Wes? I'm going to get rid of Pope and get in a budget keeper. And that'll give me enough money to go Barnes to Son the week after if I want.
Oh, well, so you're not going to do it this week? You're going to do it for...
I'm thinking, so who have Spurs got next week?
If you're going to do it next, you might as well just bench Pope in that scenario though, and then just do the 2 free transfers that you mentioned the following week if you don't want to take the minus. So it's either do both now or both next week, if that makes sense.
There's no point. Just leave my options open with Pope, is what you're saying.
Yeah, you'd leave the options open, and you'd also have a better bench option in case something random did happen to Martinez. Rather, if you did it this week, you'd be... it just makes no sense. You might as well hold it, bench. And Pope.
That's why you're the man, Wiz. That's why you keep me on track, because I would just do it, kind of being like, right, we'll get the dirty work done.
Yeah.
But no, that's good advice. So I'm probably going to roll my transfer, which
I like it, John.
I'll be shitting myself going into that Spurs fixture. It killed me this week. I was up as high as 5k. Spurs happened. I went down as low as like 10k. Yeah. Settled in around 8-something-k. Now Spurs have played again. I'm probably gone down a bit.
I think Kane and Son have been the two for pretty much the whole season. It seems like they've been scaring me virtually every week. I did have both of them at one stage, so maybe not every game, but it's like 75% of this season is just dreading every Spurs game. And I really like both of them as players as well, but they just haven't been in my team that much compared to other people. It's weird.
Yeah. Well, Guy Parfitt's in the house. He says, kind face John, good evening, chap, and good evening to you, Guy.
Guy, what hero.
Guy was the guy who christened me as having a kind face.
Yeah.
I agree. I do agree with that. Wes, we'll take a question before we go. What's this say? John, would you get a Bruno jersey on your wall if he scored a last-minute penalty in game week 38 to get you to a top 1k finish? That's a deal, Gavinho. Remind me when it happens. I'll take that. The reason I have a Trent one, people often think I'm a Liverpool supporter. It's not. It's because I'm from the kind of gambling spaces, and Trent is a bit of a hero, as we all know from last week's FPL, or last season's FPL. This season he's let us all down a bit. Right, Wes. Another question maybe. Here's one. We'll take rich FPLs. For those of us with a wild card left, planning on wild carding after the blank, do you have any good options for the weeks 27 up to 30 for a few weeks? So going for a punt for a few weeks, I think. Well, let me think about this. Wild card left, plan to wild card away. 27 to 30, yeah. Okay, who are we talking with?
So we still need a player for week 29.
That's the issue, because I was about to say Vardy, but...
Judging that question, so yeah, I think we've got to be narrowing it down to those teams, which is kind of the players we're all looking at. So maybe we should give one punt from those teams and one punt for those who... let's just assume maybe doesn't need a player for that week.
Yeah. So who's the fixture in 29 again? Who's the first team alphabetically?
So it's
Fulham.
Fulham, Leeds, Brighton, Newcastle, West Ham, Arsenal, Villa, Spurs.
Right.
So I do like the Brighton defence still. So I do like the idea of Lewis Dunk. It's not a very glamorous pick, but he's got some attacking threat. He's cheap, and Brighton are looking solid defensively and have racked up clean sheets. I know they haven't so much this week, but yeah, I like Dunk out of, if we're going for sort of an out there, it's easy for us to pop up and say the Spurs guys or the Villa guys. We all know them guys, so to try and be a little bit different, I do like Dunk. And that's not even been different for the sake of it. Dunk is in my thoughts for week 29.
Yeah, Dunk's solid. He actually is, look at his scores from game week. Even, if you go from 15, 9-1-7 to 8-6-6-8-9-7.
Yeah.
That's solid, Wiz.
And I think he should have, I'm getting mixed up with so many football games on, but this game week...
He should have had a free kick.
It was, he scored the goal, I think, didn't he? That was then... the
whistle thing.
Referee, that weird thing there. And then the game before that, when he didn't get the clean sheet, was Crystal Palace, who was a complete smash and grab. There again, some people don't like XG, but Crystal Palace's XG that game was really low. I think it was maybe only the couple of shots on target they got, and they got a real smash and grab. So yeah, Dunk's a really nice option. Like you say, you just read out his scores, and he's done really well. Seems to get bonus when he does get a return, so that's always nice.
Absolutely. I'm just laughing. Nelgun there saying that guy spelled big face wrong. The bastard. Yeah, so no, I think that's great. One of the biggest disappointments of the season, I think, was Lamptey. He started out so well. It's such a shame, isn't it? Because he really looks amazing. I just hope he comes back solid next season, or maybe before the end of the season. I don't know what his story is, but
yeah, he looked obviously. Yeah, another we like to do this, don't we, John, where we speak about sort of the youngsters coming through and those with talent, those with potential, and he's right up there. Like, you watch the games, and he was a bit like how Trent was kind of man of the match from right wing back or right back, which is kind of rare, isn't it? He was doing the same sort of thing. He was like, oh wow, the best player on this pitch is a right back, and he didn't quite get the FPL returns. He always looked likely, and Brighton's defence at that point was just conceding a few more goals than they are now. If he was currently playing, he'd be racking up those clean sheets as well. But yeah, Lamptey will always be a hero for me. He got me a goal away at Spurs when he came off my bench, so got a lucky little goal there.
Absolutely. Well, Wes, look, we'll pick captains here before we get into that. Guys, just like the video, will you? Do us a favour. I haven't checked the numbers, but
how many likes? Let's check.
Go on, check, will we? So we can shout at them.
35, John.
How many?
35.
I wouldn't even get out of bed for 35 likes, Wes.
Exactly. Guys, I'm here. I'm dying. I'm ill. We've only got 35 likes.
No, lads, look, honestly, thank you so much. As we said, we didn't plan this thinking of the Liverpool-Chelsea game, so every little... bit of SEO, search engine optimization boosting helps, and that's what the like button is. It helps people find us. So do us a favour. Wes, my captaincy is on Gundogan. It's going to be a Man City player. I'd be half tempted with Cancelo, but I don't know. The rotation risk is maybe too much, but he did have his rest. John Stones equally has just had his rest, so I don't know.
So you're looking in good shape for the double, I'd say, in terms of them all playing, but generally speaking, I prefer to captain. Well, most people do. It's not a revelation. Captain a sort of forward-thinking player, and also Gundogan's just had his rest. He came off the bench, didn't he, for like the last 10 minutes? But yeah, he wouldn't have exerted himself too much. So it looks like that all those players you mentioned will play the first game. But yeah, Gundogan looks, in my opinion, as set as you can be for a double, for a sort of City player double game week. It does come with a risk. They might only play the one game, but if that happens, it happens. I think you have to be looking at a City asset. So yeah, mine is Gundogan. I think I'm going to vice captain Kane. Usually my vice would be someone else with a double, but I'd be happy with, if something random happened to Gundogan and he missed both games, I'd be happy enough having Kane captain at home to Palace. So yeah, that's how I'm thinking about it.
Well, that's something we kind of covered in one of our earlier podcasts, and just for people here in case they missed that, like, the importance of maybe picking captain and vice captain from two different teams this year, because it would not be out of the realms of possibility that there's an outbreak in City and they miss both fixtures. So, picking Gundogan and Cancelo's great in case Gundogan gets injured, but I would rather guarantee the vice captain in a different fixture that's less likely to get cancelled. So that's why I've picked Salah. So, and equally there, I wouldn't put it on Fernandes, because if Man City had the breakout, then Bruno
miss
doesn't have
out
the
as
game
well.
against City.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe it is a little bit gone over the top, but those little things add up over the season, hedging your bets.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with that. And like you said, it is very unlikely that they will miss both games. We know that, of course, because it's died down. Blah blah blah. But why take the risk? Put it on someone like a Kane, a Vardy, a Salah, like you said, and they're still premium options with a decent single game week fixture where they can score in as well. But yeah, so we're on the same lines there. Really, Gundo captain, then a separate vice captain from a separate game.
Absolutely. Well, Wes, look, do you have anything you want to wrap up with?
No, just thanks everyone for watching. Obviously during when a game's on as well, so dedication from the loyal fans, and help us. We'll put links out to it on Twitter and all that stuff. So if you share it for people, because obviously this can be watched up until the deadline now, can't it? For people who haven't caught it from the start either. So help us share that. Give us some retweets. Spread the love.
Absolutely. Yeah, please go over and engage. Our handles are below us here on Twitter. Go over, get involved. And thank you so much for watching the video. Like and subscribe on your way out for more content like this. We've all these shows lined up. There's Wes back, the handsome devil. And,
God, come back and try and say bye. Hopefully the internet lasts for a couple of seconds.
All right. Well, look, guys, thanks so much for watching, and we will chat to you same time next week, 8 p.m. I haven't checked what the fixtures are. There's probably Europa League, but that's life. We'll see you then.
We on? Hold on, John. Just before we go, aren't we on Friday next week?
Wes, pulling it out of the bag. It's Friday next week. Jeez. And there's definitely a few people who signed out being like, oh yeah, I'll catch them next week. Sorry lads, someone's tuning in next Thursday to get disappointed. It's Friday next week because I'm working on night duty on the Thursday, I believe.
Yeah.
So there might be a few cans on the cards. It's a Friday night, who knows?
Yeah, sounds good.